Matt Schlapp is here, former White House political director under President George W. Bush. Marianne Marsh is former senior advisor to John Kerry. Welcome to you both. Marianne, I want to start with you on that, and I want to get your fresh reaction, having just heard all of that sound from Donald Trump.
Well, there's no question, Martha, that both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton know that the White House is going to be won by women voters. And you can see their strategy laid out in front of you. Donald Trump is attacking Hillary Clinton to try to depress the turnout amongst women because he knows if women turn out in record numbers, he will lose. Hillary Clinton today is in Virginia trying to woo Republican and independent women to support her. And that tells you everything about this general election.
Matt, what do you think?
You know, I just think that this is one of these rules that Republicans have followed for the last 20 years, is talking about Bill Clinton and his sex life and his scandals. Turned out to be a political loser right around that time. Bill Clinton was reelected, obviously, and congressional Republicans often found themselves being outfoxed by Bill Clinton. But Donald Trump is going to take on all these rules. He's going to test the hypothesis and see if he can come out with a different answer. It's 20 years later, and I think what voters realize is that maybe it wasn't so much about the sex. Maybe it was a lot more about the Clintons just have a second set of rules, and they play by their own set of rules.
Yeah, you know, it's fascinating, Marianne, when you look at this, because the thing that Hillary will go after Donald Trump about are the statements, the words that have been used, the things that he has called women. And he's essentially saying, you know, which I might point out was brought up to him at our first debate for the purpose of showing that this would be a factor down the road and it would be something that he would have to confront and deal with. So now we're looking at his strategy for how he confronts and deals with it. Instead of making excuses, instead of saying, well, here's why I said that, he's just saying, look, those were words. That was a show. That was talk. Let's talk about real behavior. Is that a winning strategy for Marianne?
Well, clearly Trump thinks it will be, and he's turning conventional wisdom on its head once more, not only to Matt's point, but more importantly, at this stage in a campaign, you are normally trying to run a positive campaign to up your favorability ratings. Donald Trump's not doing that because his unfavorability ratings are so high, he knows he can't bring them back down. He's trying to ratchet up Hillary Clinton, so he's attacking her on that front, and he's hoping that women get turned off by this campaign. Hillary Clinton's drawing a sharp contrast. The clip you played with Donald Trump at the top of this segment compared to her response, which is, I'm not running against Donald Trump. I'm running for what I can do for the country and for you. Right. And she does it in a very calm, cool, collected way. So she says, look, you might be afraid of this guy, and you may not like me, but at least you're not going to be afraid of me because you know you can trust me not to do something irresponsible.
Yeah, it's very clear that, you know, she is very measured. She's very sort of diplomatic and statesmanlike, sitting back saying, is this what you want? But here, you know, in the background, we've got this Twitter fight going on with Elizabeth Warren and Donald Trump, and it raises questions about what Warren's future role may be in all of this. But let's take a look at these because, you know, this is sort of where this stuff is at right now. It's a Twitter battle. He says, I hope corrupt Hillary Clinton chooses goofy Elizabeth Warren as her running mate. I will defeat them both. And Elizabeth Warren has said about him, no, at Real Donald Trump, your racism, sexism, and xenophobia doesn't drive me nuts. It makes me sick, and I'm not alone. What's Elizabeth Warren's role in all of this, do you think, Matt?
Well, I think she is kind of like the kingmaker or the queenmaker over on the progressive side. I mean, Elizabeth Warren finally, you know, being full-throated in her support for Hillary Clinton is a big deal, I think, for a lot of voters. And also, you know, what her husband did when he ran for president is he doubled down. He picked a moderate Southerner, Al Gore, to be his running mate. And maybe what Hillary Clinton realizes, it might be smart for her to double down and pick another progressive woman. And I think Donald Trump, doubling down, he might be tripling or quadrupling down on the fact that he's going to go out and try to say that she's playing this card in a way and people are tired of her, they don't like her, and he's going to go a whole different route. It's a fascinating race.
You know, it is a fascinating race, and one of the things that, you know, when you look at the issues that a Republican might be vulnerable on, for instance, Planned Parenthood, and this is one of the issues that drives, you know, conservatives crazy when they listen to Donald Trump, but he is essentially, you know, finding some middle ground here. He's saying, well, they do a lot of great things for women, Marianne, and I know that, you know, that's going to get a lot of people fired up, but it also negates that argument to a certain extent coming from Hillary Clinton, doesn't it?
No question, Martha. And I thought the more important development over the weekend was the fact that Donald Trump changed his position on the minimum wage, which is especially important to working women, single women, who really are going to be the determinate subset of women voters. And it appeals to them a lot. He has not been there on that. So he came out and said, I don't know how people live on $7.25 an hour. We need to change that. So at the same time he's attacking Hillary Clinton, he is changing his positions on economics that appeal to women. So it's every rule that everyone has known, including Matt and I, about all these elections, where you first start positive, then you draw contrast, then you go negative, then you end up positive, throw them all out the window. You're seeing it played out in May in front of you, and we have 6 months to go.
So true. You know, he's taking these issues sort of one by one, Matt, and saying, yeah, I can be flexible on the minimum wage. Yes, I can be flexible on Planned Parenthood. You know, yes, and by the way, when it comes to who treats women better, just take a look at Bill Clinton.
You know, I would push back a little bit on Planned Parenthood. He's saying that as long as they provide abortion services, and they're the #1 provider of abortion services in the country, that they shouldn't get federal funds. So he's saying if they do other things, I might be okay with that. On the minimum wage, he's basically saying let the states take care of it. But I do agree with Marianne on a lot of these issues. He's going to be a deal maker, and I don't think he wants to raise taxes. I think, but what he's saying is that, look, if we get a big, comprehensive tax reform package, if some people, like hedge fund managers, have tax increases, I'm not going to worry about that too much. So I think that's what we see going on here, is that Donald Trump is a wild card on where he'll be on these policies. But I do think he's going to have to give a lot more definition as we get to Cleveland, as we get to the convention, as we get to the platform. I think it's going to be a huge contrast for voters.
Yeah, and I wonder if we're going to hear from Bill Clinton on this issue, and if he will try to, you know, somehow inoculate his wife against anything that has happened in the past. It's going to be brought up here.
Martha, I don't know what he can say. What could he say?
I would say, well, I think the reality here is that the general election is between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton will stand on her own 2 feet.
Thanks, guys.